Hello, my name is Jay Chauhan. I am a mentor in a group called Angel Mentorship Group, and I'll be talking today about the franchise. You can join the group at the on the Facebook as Angel Mentorship Group. Anybody who's a lawyer, paralegal is welcome. Today's topic is franchise, and I would like to talk about the subject in terms of how a franchise works and what are the different issues that you have to deal with for a franchisee and the role of the lawyer in the franchise arrangement. First of all, actually, what is a franchise? Franchise is an arrangement where the franchisor, who is a business person with knowledge and skill in in providing some kind of goods or services and is willing to provide that to another person in accordance with an agreement made between the franchisor and the franchisee. So the franchisor normally has established a business already, and then he provides this knowledge to the franchisee. So it works by an agreement. It's not an employment arrangement, but rather an agreement to provide the help and service by an agreement and for the payment that the franchisee makes to the franchisor. So the franchisor is the person who provides the knowledge, and the franchisee is the person who is receiving the knowledge and working to establish the business pursuant to the instructions and the knowledge of the franchisor. So today I'm going to review the questions of what different things does a franchisor do and how the franchise arrangement works in practice. So first of all, actually, to explain how it works is an explanation of the different things that a franchisor does. So first of all, this concept can be used in either manufacture of goods, provision of goods, retail stores, or even a service. For example, accounting service and other types of services in the community. So a best example of how it works is a McDonald's. So McDonald's, if you go in any place around the world, it has the same logo, same design, same appearance, and the same kind of a restaurant all around the world. So the provider of McDonald's franchise provides the support for the franchisee to develop a concept of uniformity, streamlined service, and consistency in the goods or service that the franchisee will provide. So from the outside, you'll get the impression that everything is sort of owned by one person, but it is not. The franchisor is legally a separate person from the franchisee. So the reason for this arrangement is that the person who has developed the concept of a particular franchise can expand his services to many different people without using his own capital to expand the business. So it's a very useful concept to learn because it enables the person who is a business person to do many different activities in different geographic areas without having to supervise everybody and all the people, like a big organization that controls all the processes with the people that work under him. So first arrangement that the franchisor has to make is to try to sell the franchise to a franchisee. And how does he do it? Under the Ontario law, the franchisor is required to prepare a disclosure, which is similar to a prospectus. He is required to produce a disclosure to explain his financial situation, his ability to provide the goods or services that he defines that he can provide, his experience, his background, etc. The reason for having this law is because there is a presumption that the franchisor is financially always very capable and that he can always be more reliable, etc. But I think that Ontario introduced this is called Arthur Wishart Franchise Act for the purpose of ensuring that the franchisor does not misrepresent his position to the franchisee and give the impression that he can do what he says he will do without proper ability to provide the goods and services and the skill that is needed to operate the franchise arrangement properly to the franchisee. So once you see as a franchisee a document of disclosure, you have a background in your mind available to understand what the franchisor will do. So at the time of the commencement of the relationship, the franchisor will receive a franchise fee, which can be anything from as little as $25,000, sometimes $500,000, depending on the volume of business that he feels he can help the franchisee produce. So once you have developed a number of outlets, let's say in different towns, then you have an idea in the mind of franchisor that what different ability different communities will have to purchase the goods or services and how much revenue you will be able to generate from operating the franchise. Therefore, more expensive the franchise, more revenue you're likely to be able to obtain per annum. So we start the relationship by an agreement. After the disclosure, there is an agreement made between the franchisor and a franchisee in which the parties explain the obligations of each to the other. It's mostly the explanation in the agreement of the franchise fee, how much he will, as a franchisee, he will be required to pay. The next is the royalty fee. What is the royalty fee? That is an ongoing payment based on the revenue of the franchisee, on which there is a percentage, anything from 2, 3, or 5 to 6% of the revenue is then allocated for the payment to the franchisor for the support, guidance, accounting, and different services that the franchisor provides to the franchisee. In addition to the guidance, there is also the marketing that he may provide. Say, for example, there is a joint marketing. If you advertise in the local newspapers or in national newspapers, very often the franchisor will promote his name at his own expense with a budget, and very often there is a clause in the franchise arrangement that the franchisees all put together will also contribute towards the cost of advertising the goods or services in the marketplace. So there is usually a percentage, 2, 3, 4% of the revenues allocated for the purpose of the marketing cost of doing it. A lot of the advertising today is done in the social media, Facebook and so on, but there's also the cost of maintaining the websites and the updating the different social media, from which a lot of the organizations are now marketing this thing. The traditional printing in the newspaper and the traditional marketing arrangement are declining in the direction of the more electronic media trying to take over the marketing function, which is expanding the range in which you can operate. So very often you can see the details of a franchise arrangement in any part of the world, even if it is a local organization. But very often, or perhaps most of the times, the arrangement between a franchisor and a franchisee is very limited to a geographic area. So suppose you have a McDonald's, suppose you have a newspaper that you are circulating and you want to expand in a different area, then the franchisor enters into an agreement with the franchisee that he will only operate in a particular town. Like this, let's say, for example, if you're in Richmond Hill and you want to make an agreement, that the agreement will say that your activities to market and sell your services will be limited in the geographic area of another town, like Markham or Newmarket. And those definitions are done to ensure that in the geographic area defined in the franchise agreement is followed up by the agreement for the franchisee to operate in a limited geographic area, so he does not compete with another franchisee for the same goods and services in the same area, and therefore they do not clash in terms of the market that they're aiming at. So the geographic area is a very common feature of the franchise arrangement, but it also enables the franchisor to find a bigger market in different areas without investing his own money. And how does it work? Suppose you were in one particular town where you developed your franchise, a restaurant, newspaper, or any other service like accounting service, and many other activities that you have developed can now be used for expansion without putting your own money into another town and saying to somebody, I'll employ you. You don't employ that person. In fact, the person in another town tells you, as a franchisor, that I will give you a franchise fee, you will train me, and I'll operate only in that local area to carry out the role of the franchisee and sell those goods and services. There's an ongoing support that the franchisor provides. Now, what does a lawyer do in this situation? The role of the lawyer is very different in terms of his advice to the franchisor or franchisee. If a lawyer is acting for the franchisor, he produces all the documents. For example, the disclosure or is a very detailed document, franchise agreement, a lease arrangement, a purchase of another existing franchise by a new person, and all the legal documents that are necessary for the purpose of carrying out the franchise arrangement. So there are about 4 or 5 major documents which may be needed, and those documents are prepared by the lawyer. In terms of the understanding, it is very important to recognize that the lawyer in this arrangement is acting only for the client. Therefore, you need 2 lawyers, one for the franchisor and one for the franchisee. Most of the time, and almost all of the times that I have seen, that there will be 2 different companies, one for the franchisor, one for the franchisee. There's enormous potential for not only expanding your business in this arrangement, but a lot of tax planning is required because the franchisor may hold all the assets in a different organization, in a different company, for example, his trademark, his properties, etc., and the operating business may be done through another company. So they hold a trademark and all the intellectual property in one company, and then the operations are conducted through another company when it goes big enough. So I hope that was helpful, and hope you joined the Angel Mentorship Group, and it is on the Facebook, and hope to see you again. Thank you.